This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
The Brexiters have won, and I have with me three of them. Congratulations, you have wanted out, and that has happened. What did you keep in mind, sir, when you cast your vote?
Well, freedom, sovereignty and democracy. And it looks like we're going to get that back. But also, as I've thinking now, we're no longer hidebound by the EU Trade Commissioner. We're now free to trade globally with the rest of the world, and that includes India and other countries, where at the moment we're restricted by the EU Trade Commissioner determining how we will trade and trade. So we can do a trade deal tomorrow with India.
With India?
With India. I'm saying India because you're from India. Yeah. But if you were from Japan, I'd say it from Japan, from Hong Kong or wherever. We're now
with any part of the world.
Any part of the world, rather than being in this sclerotic EU, which is diminishing.
Okay, you are from Indian origin.
Yeah.
Your parents are from Gujarat.
Yeah.
From where, incidentally, the Prime Minister is Prime Minister Modi, who said remain. So I'm going to talk to you about what you think how this is going to play out at your home. Have your parents wanted to remain and you wanted out?
They are leave as well. They are leave as well. But I just have to say one thing. As a direct result of European Union membership, this country is rejecting the brightest and best from India. The doctors, like Indian doctors, are amongst the best in the world. The professors, the scientists, and in exchange for that, we are allowing unskilled, semi-skilled, cheap foreign labour to come in from Europe, many of whom cannot speak a single word of English, many of whom have criminal record. So we want a fair system where all the brightest and best of India
It's equal for all.
Yeah, equal for all.
Fair.
Okay. Party time, of course, but the pound has taken a serious hit already. George Osborne says, do it yourself recession, and that's what is likely to happen. Are you ready for that kind of a hit?
Well, in the past, none of these...
Yes, go on.
In the past, none of these so-called experts who told us about all the doom and gloom in the recession were able to predict the biggest recession of the last 50, 60 years. None of them predicted the recession of 2008. How can they predict something when no one knows what's going to happen? I've got no respect for those experts, because they're all betting on the pound. They're the people who are making the money from the currency going up and down, not the people who are passing going to work.
Okay.
Currencies go up and down, and it's gone down today. It can equally go up next week. So next week, next month, but tomorrow.
But tomorrow looks positive and bright to you.
Brighter. Once people realise the opportunities open to us now, fantastic.
Okay, so there is a sense of optimism. Even as the pound falls, Brexiters here are saying that this is a way for Britain to carve its path of trade with several other countries, particularly Commonwealth countries like India. Yes, it's going to be a tough time for Britain with the markets behaving funnily in the last 2 weeks. But this lady here says, and what do you do, ma'am, for a living?
I'm retired.
You're retired. So she says that the last recession where thousands lost their jobs was something that nobody predicted. So perhaps this one could be something that could be perhaps exaggerated.
No, I said the experts got it wrong before. So if none of them knew the last time, how can they predict a recession this time?
Got it wrong for our result today. The betting people
With
got it wrong.
As neck and neck, trust me. It was so difficult to predict. But then thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to talk about the different patterns in voting that we saw this referendum. I see that a lot of the quintessential English voted out. Londoners voted in. So what is this disparity that you see? What is so striking?
I think the most striking disparity is the age. I know that 75% of the 18 to 25s voted in, and then 25 to sort of 35, I think, drops down to about 65 odd. By the time you get to the sort of 65 plus, you're down to sort of 39%, which is a huge majority for the out campaign.
Yeah, sure. And also, James, does this mean changes that may happen in Britain itself? Does it make you proud as a British?
I don't think pride comes into it so much. It's more kind of, I don't know, I'm not explaining myself very well. No, not pride.
Decision that we just
Yeah, it's just disappointing, you know. It feels like a step back, is what I would say. it's a, it's a step back in the sort of progress. Financially, it will be fine. I think there will be a repercussion, of course. Pound has already dropped about 11%, I think. So I guess, the city's going crazy at the moment, but that will recover. It's more the sort of social aspect of it, which I think is the problem.
Which may affect the image of Britain?
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure it will in Europe. I think already the far rights in France are calling for a referendum. I'm sure Scotland will ask another one in the next few years. And then, we're not so much the United Kingdom anymore. It's the cracks are showing.
Thank you, James. Thanks very much for joining us.
This happened on Friday the 24th of June when I was in Lisbon airport, and I was standing with 3 or 4 British people at the immigration counter, and this man sort of started talking about Brexit. Suddenly he looks at me and says, "Where are you from?" So I said, "I'm from India." And he kind of snatched my biometric residence permit that ironically has a photo of mine with a beard from 2 years ago when I sported one. And he looked at it and said, "Oh, you look like a terrorist." And my immediate reaction was of shock, disbelief. And in hindsight, I wonder whether I should sort of say it's linked to Brexit or not, but definitely this happened during the time a conversation on Brexit was happening. So it was, I would say, humiliating. It was racist.
Nikhil's account is among the nearly 110 cases of alleged racial abuse reported from different parts of the UK days after the EU referendum outcome which called for a Brexit, exit from the European Union. Much of it spoken about on social media. In Cambridgeshire, some homes saw signs saying "Leave the EU, no more Polish vermin." The Polish embassy wrote to the Prime Minister's office with concern over the hate messages.
We will not stand for hate crime or these kinds of attacks. They must be stamped out. Mr. Speaker, we can reassure European citizens living here and Brits living in European countries that there'll be no immediate changes in their circumstances.
Don't let the media divide us. Don't let those people who wish us ill divide us. Stay together, strong and united for the kind of world we want to live in.
Activists and watchers of far-right groups are trying to investigate whether these are incidents which have occurred earlier to the Brexit referendum outcome and only have been reported now. While hundreds are being reported, particularly on social media, very few have been reported to the police. Here in central London, which really is a melting pot of cultures, as we can see, we do know that the number of cases reported are very few, but then it's areas outside of London like Ilford, Watford, even southeast parts of London, where we're hearing of more remarks and racial abuses allegedly being hurled. London's Mayor Sadiq Khan has asked the city police to be on a high alert against racist attacks.
I'm clear about is we're going to have zero tolerance towards that. The Met Police will prosecute those caught committing these offences, and we've got to make clear those communities who've been vulnerable hear from us, the majority, that you are safe here and you're welcome here.
Come Saturday, and Londoners will back the city's iconic Trafalgar Square in support of togetherness. Radhika Iyer in London, NDTV.